Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today, I am going to show you how I make my chicken and dumplings. Now, this may be a little bit different than your traditional chicken and dumplings that you're used to, but I guarantee if you guys give this a shot, you'll love it. So stay tuned. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, guys, so what I have here, I have 3 big split chicken breasts. I actually took and split these chicken breasts into halves and thirds. I like to brown my chicken before I add in the water to make the stock. That's why I did that, just to make it a little bit easier so I can get coating on every side. I have 1 small green pepper, 2 stalks of celery, and a small onion here. For my dumplings, I'm actually using a little bit of a hack or a surprise. I'm using pie crust. I like my dumplings a little thin. I don't feel like rolling me out. This is a great substitute for doing that. So if you guys have never tried that, give that one a shot. I like to add a little bit of peas and carrots in mine, but if you don't like that, you can leave it out. Generally, I don't like peas or carrots eaten like this, but I like it in soup and I like it in my dumplings, chicken and noodles or whatnot. Black pepper, granulated garlic. We're using some chicken and poultry rub to season our chicken. Granulated onion, some chicken base, bay leaf. I would like a little oregano, but I'm out right now, and I'm going to use a little bit of minced garlic. Anything else I may use, I will make sure that I let you guys know. But other than that, let's go ahead and season up our chicken and then get it. All right, guys, so all I'm going to do, I'm just going to add in a little bit of olive oil. Going to help get the seasonings coated all around the chicken. And we're going to season it fairly liberally with our chicken and poultry rub. This is a really good seasoning. Get this from Sam's Club. It's not overly salty, but it has a lot of nice little herbs and stuff in it. And it makes the chicken taste really good. Good on if you're grilling it, if you're just baking chicken or doing it like this. But I do recommend you try that if you've never given it a shot. We're going to use some granulated onion and our granulated garlic here. And we're just going to mix our chicken up really well, make sure all the pieces get coated. And once we're done mixing it up, all we're going to do is just going to let our chicken sit for a little while, for maybe 5 or 6 minutes, in order for the seasoning to just kind of soak in just a little bit, and then to get our Dutch oven up to temperature so we can sear this chicken off. Like I said, I like to get a little bit more body into the flavor as opposed to just throwing our chicken directly into some water and boiling it. I think it adds a little more flavor. So we'll brown our chicken off, then we'll add in our veg and give that a little slight saute as well. Then we'll go ahead and add in our water and chicken base and things like that in order to build that broth for our chicken and dumplings. So, all right, guys, now it's time to go ahead and brown up our chicken. Got just a little thin layer of vegetable oil in there, or olive oil rather. And we're just gonna put those pieces down and just get a nice little color on them. We're not trying to get them super dark, but again, I like to do this because I think it adds a little bit more depth of flavor to your chicken and dumplings. Like some people like to roast their chicken first. And I just like to do it this way, but you can use roast chicken. You can use rotisserie chicken and kind of skip this step and pick up a little bit later on, but this works for me. And I think it's going to work for you if you give it a try as well. So again, all I'm doing is just browning this chicken off, and when it's time to move on to the next step, I will bring you guys back in so you can see what we got going on. All right, guys, so we've got a little bit of color on all the pieces of our chicken. We've browned it off. Again, we were just trying to get some color, get some flavor down in this pot, not just putting in there and adding water to it. So now what I want to do, the vegetables that I cut up earlier, we're going to put all of those in here as well. And let's allow them to get a really quick saute before we add in our chicken powder and our water. So again, that was a small onion, a small bell pepper, and 2 stalks of celery. And we just want to get that down this pot and get a little flavor bumping off of that as well. Maybe let it saute for maybe 2 or 3 minutes. Then when we're done with that, we're going to add in about a tablespoon or so of our chicken base and our water. We're just going to put enough water in here to cover our chicken, so, you know, just under the rim of the pot there. And if we need to add a little bit more, we'll do that, but we're going to do that and cook this chicken down until it begins to fall off the bone, and we'll shred it, strain our broth a little bit, and keep on rolling. So you guys stay tuned. It's cooking up real good, and we'll be back here in a little bit. All right, so we've allowed our veggies to get a little bit of a saute on them as well. Now I'm gonna go in with a tablespoon of our chicken base. Just a hair more. Give it a good little mix. Then we're gonna add our water. This is hot water that we got going in here. Don't want to slow down the cooking process more than I have to. All right. And what I'll do, I'll just top it off with just a little bit more water. We're going to bring this to a boil. Then we're going to reduce our temperature to just a slow rolling boil. And we're going to cook this until this chicken becomes fall off the bone tender. So you guys stay tuned. And when we're ready for the next step, I'll bring you guys back in. But right now we're rolling. Looking good. All right, folks, time to check on our chicken. Now we've had this chicken rolling now for about 40 minutes. I do want to let you guys know that I forgot to put my bay leaf in as soon as I added in my water. So I immediately came back and I added in 2 bay leaves in here as well. And I just want to check my chicken really quickly to see how tender it is and if it's ready to pull yet. And it's getting there. It's getting real close. But I'm gonna let it go for probably another 15 minutes or so. But it's looking really good. You can see how rich that broth is. Now I will admit, my chicken and dumplings, the gravy may be a little bit darker, more darker than yours, but that's how I like it. I know a lot of people like theirs to have a really, really, really light gravy or whatnot to their chicken and dumplings, but mine's a little darker, but it's still delicious. So I want to give the broth just a little bit of a taste to see if I need to add any salt to this. I'm not going to add my black pepper in until we add in our dumplings and make our little roux or whatnot. But I do want to taste the broth now to see if we need any salt. Now that's really, really good. Rich flavor, but it does need a little bit of salt. So we're going to go in with a little bit of kosher salt in here. Not a ton. As far as the onion and the garlic, we are perfect. We're spot on there. And again, that chicken and poultry seasoning adds a really nice flavor to the broth as well. So we're going to continue to let this go about another 15 minutes. And then I'm going to strain everything, get my broth together, make my little roux, and start building our chicken and dumplings. So you guys stay tuned. We'll be back in a little. All right, y'all. So we've allowed our chicken to cook another 15 minutes or so. And now you can see our chicken is just breaking apart really nicely. So I'm going to take my pot and I'm going to strain everything out. I'm going to pull my chicken. I'm going to skim off a little bit of the fat that's on top. When I get done with all that, we'll bring you guys back and we'll start building up this chicken and dumplings. I'll show you how I'm going to cut my dumplings from the pie crust and everything else that's involved. So you all stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, guys, so I just wanted to let you see our chicken. I have my chicken here all shredded, and you can see I have it shredded into fairly thick chunks. I like having nice, thick, meaty pieces of chicken in my chicken and dumplings, and I reserved all the vegetables that we cooked up with it as well. That's going back into the pot, and then we have our broth over here as well. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to make a really light roux, not a heavy roux, because I don't want it like thick or like gravy, because our dumplings are going to help thicken up our chicken and dumplings as well. But I do want to start with a really small roux just to help thicken it up some. All right, guys, so we're going to make this quick little roux for our chicken and dumplings. Now, if you see my pot, I didn't wash it out or nothing. All I did was drain it, make sure there are no bones at the bottom. I want every little bit of flavor that I had in this pot to remain. And we're just going to add in 4 tablespoons of butter here and begin to melt that down. And again, we're just doing this to make a quick roux. With using the pie crust as the dumplings, it doesn't always thicken up your chicken and dumplings like it would if you were to make your dumplings yourself because you have that excess flour. So doing it this way, this ensures that my dumplings, or the gravy for my dumplings, chicken and dumplings, is going to be the right consistency or for what I want. Instead of adding in some cornstarch slurry or anything at the end, I'd rather do it this way because to me, it still adds more flavor to it. So let me get this melted down, and then when it's done, we'll go ahead and add in our flour and build up this little roux. All right, so we've got our butter melted down, and what I have here, I have about a half a cup of all-purpose flour. And again, we're just gonna make us a little light roux. You don't even have to go really, really dark with this because our gravy or our broth already is a nice color to it. We're just doing this strictly for thickening purposes for our chicken and dumplings. There are many ways to make dumplings. You can make them yourself. You have time to do that, or if you feel like, whipping it up yourself. Some people use biscuit dough. I'm not a big fan of that. I don't like the way the dumplings turn out. Like, again, I don't like those really, really thick, pillowy dumplings. I like more of a thinner, tender dumpling. But you can kind of do it however you want to. And we're just going to move this around till we cook that raw flour flavor out of there. All right, so we've got our roux cooked down to where we want it. I'm just going to take and start adding in my broth a little bit slowly. Until it's nice and smooth, and then when it gets to a nice smooth consistency, I'm going to add in the rest of it. Now, if you were just trying to make some gravy, this would be some bomb gravy by itself on its own, but we got a bigger cause going on here, so. You see how smooth it's getting right now. And just keep on turning and stirring until, like I said, it's nice and smooth. And you have no lumps or anything in there. It looks amazing already. Now I'm going to take this time to go ahead and add in some black pepper. Again, I haven't added any pepper or anything in there at all. But now's the time to start putting our pepper and stuff in. Now, you can go, remember, we're tasting our food. These are just, in my opinion, baseline recipes to build upon. But you're going to cook it however you like it. I love pepper, especially in chicken and dumplings, so we're going to go fairly heavy with our pepper. Okay, so now that we've got our base nice and smooth, we're going to go ahead on now and let's go ahead and add in all the rest of our stock. All right, guys, so we got our broth, our liquid up here to a nice slow rolling boil. So now I'm going to do is add in my carrots and peas. Now, again, this is optional. If you're not a fan of a little veg in your chicken and dumplings, then you can definitely leave it out. But I like it just for a little bit of color and a little bit of contrast. To me, it tastes pretty good in here. Then we're going to go ahead on and add in our chicken and our other veggies, our green pepper, bell pepper, and our onion. Let's put that in there as well. And we're just going to bring this up back to a nice rolling boil or simmer. And while this is warming through, we're going to go ahead on and get our dumplings together. Oh yeah. Alrighty. Some flavors in there bumping. All right, let's go work on those dumplings. All right, guys, so here's my pie crust. Now they come two to a pack, so I'm going to use both of these, and we're just going to put in as many as I need. So being that when I was rolling it out, it already began to crack in certain areas, I'm just going to follow these lines with my pizza cutter here. And you just kind of make the dumplings how you want, as thick or as thin as you want. And I'm going like 1 by 1 and 1.5 by 1.5, trying to get their strips. For the little areas where it may not have cut all the way through, just go back through and make sure that all of them are broken apart. You want to make sure that you keep your pie crust nice and cool to prevent anything from sticking. And you don't, when you throw them into your pot, you don't want to just dump them in either. You want to just kind of stagger them in. That way you have nothing sticking. So, all right. And we'll repeat the process with our other pie crust. All right, so now our broth and everything is up to a boil, and we're just going to take and drop in our dumplings. One thing you don't want to do is leave these out in the open while your broth is coming up to temp, because they'll begin to stick. So I like to throw them back in the fridge when I get them cut, or in the freezer, to keep them nice and separated. And make sure you're stirring them as you're putting them in. Like I said, I know my chicken and dumplings may be a little bit different from what you're traditionally used to having, but I just encourage you to give them a try. And you know that your dumplings are done when they begin to float a little bit. These are not going to puff up really, really thick. And that's a good thing, because I don't like my dumplings like that anyway. Alrighty. All right, guys, so we're in our home stretch now. You can see how the gravy or the broth is thickened up real well. Our dumplings are just about done. You can see how they look. Everything is coming together really well. Look at that. So I'm just going to continue to let them cook for another 2 or 3 minutes. And again, when they begin to float to the top, then that lets you know that they are ready to go. And when it's time to plate up, I'll let you see the finished look. And there you have it, guys. This is my version of chicken and dumplings. If you don't like yours quite as brothy, you can put a little bit less broth in there if you want, or you can add more dumplings to your mix. But I like eating mine with cornbread, as you can see here, or a nice biscuit on the side to sop it up with. But this is a really comforting recipe. That pie crust makes for a really soft, tender, and thinner dumpling, but it tastes really, really good. And I hope you guys really enjoyed this recipe. Give it a shot. Let me know what you think. Till the next time, God bless you. We will see you around.